In 1999, at the height of the dot-com boom, Americans couldn't escape a certain white sock puppet with black ears and a sarcastic attitude. The mascot for Pets.com became more famous than most human celebrities, appearing on Good Morning America, getting his own balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and even interviewing celebrities at award shows. But behind that lovable puppet was one of the most spectacular business failures in internet history. Pets.com burned through $300 million in venture capital in less than 2 years, creating what would become the poster child for dot-com excess and mismanagement. The company that promised to revolutionize pet care ended up teaching the business world a harsh lesson about the difference between brand recognition and sustainable business models. The story begins in August 1998 when Julie Wainwright became CEO of a struggling online pet supply startup originally called PetStore.com. Wainwright, a Harvard MBA who had previously worked at several technology companies, inherited a company that was hemorrhaging money with no clear path to profitability. The original founders had the right idea about the pet market, which generated $34 billion annually in the United States, but they had failed to execute on the massive opportunity. Pet owners spent an average of $600 per year on their animals, making it an attractive demographic for any retailer. The renamed Pets.com officially launched in February 1999 with Wainwright at the helm, backed by $9.4 million in Series A funding led by Bowman Capital Management. The timing seemed perfect as e-commerce was exploding and investors were throwing money at any company with a dot-com business plan. What made Pets.com different from traditional pet retailers wasn't just the online platform, but the scope of their ambitions. The company promised to deliver everything from dog food to cat litter directly to customers' doors, eliminating trips to pet stores entirely. Their website featured over 40,000 products ranging from basic supplies to premium accessories and specialty foods. They offered automatic delivery services where customers could set up recurring shipments of pet food and supplies. The convenience factor was undeniable, especially for urban pet owners who didn't own cars or lived in small apartments, where storing large bags of dog food was impractical. Pets.com also provided extensive educational content, veterinary advice, and community features that traditional pet stores couldn't match. The company positioned itself as a comprehensive pet care destination rather than just another retailer, creating what they believed would be an unbeatable value proposition for pet owners. The sock puppet mascot that would define Pets.com's legacy was created by the San Francisco advertising agency TBWA Chiat Day in early 1999. The puppet, officially known as the Pets.com pet, was designed to be irreverent, memorable, and distinctly different from typical pet-related marketing. Voiced by comedian Michael Ian Black, the sock puppet delivered deadpan one-liners and sarcastic commentary that appealed to adults rather than children. The character's catchphrase, "Because pets can't drive," perfectly encapsulated the company's value proposition while maintaining the puppet's snarky personality. The advertising campaign launched with a modest budget, but the puppet's popularity exploded almost immediately. Within months, the sock puppet was appearing on television talk shows, posing with celebrities, and generating more media coverage than most Fortune 500 companies. The puppet received thousands of fan letters, inspired countless imitations, and became so popular that many people knew the mascot without understanding what Pets.com actually sold. The massive success of their marketing campaign led Pets.com to make one of the most expensive advertising decisions in Super Bowl history. The company paid $11.8 million for advertising during Super Bowl 2024 in January 2000, including the cost of producing multiple commercials and the media buy. This represented nearly 20% of their total funding at the time, an astronomical percentage for a single advertising campaign. The Super Bowl commercials featured the sock puppet in various scenarios, including one where he lip-synced to a song while promoting the website's convenience. An estimated 88 million viewers watched the commercials, making it one of the most seen advertisements in television history. The campaign was universally praised by advertising critics and won numerous industry awards. However, the massive exposure created a problem the company hadn't anticipated, demand that far exceeded their ability to fulfill orders profitably. Behind the successful marketing facade, Pets.com's business model was fundamentally flawed in ways that would prove impossible to overcome. The company was losing money on every single transaction, sometimes as much as $27 per order. Their average order value was only $65, but the cost of acquiring each customer through advertising was over $82. Shipping costs were devastating the bottom line because pet supplies are heavy, bulky, and expensive to transport. A 40-pound bag of dog food that sold for $30 online cost Pets.com $12 to ship, eliminating any possibility of profit even before accounting for wholesale costs, warehousing, and overhead. The company tried to encourage larger orders by offering free shipping on purchases over $75, but this actually made their losses worse as customers took advantage of the promotion to buy heavy items like cat litter and dog food that were expensive to ship. Unlike books or electronics, pet supplies had low margins and high shipping costs that made the direct-to-consumer model economically unviable. The operational challenges facing Pets.com were even more severe than their financial problems. The company had built a massive infrastructure designed to handle national distribution, including warehouses in multiple states and partnerships with major shipping companies. However, they had severely underestimated the complexity of managing inventory for 40,000 different products. Pet food had expiration dates, creating waste when products sat too long in warehouses. Seasonal items like flea treatments and winter coats required sophisticated demand forecasting that the company struggled to master. Customer service was overwhelmed with complaints about delayed shipments, damaged products, and incorrect orders. The company's website frequently crashed under heavy traffic, especially after advertising campaigns drove sudden spikes in visitors. During peak periods, customers experienced wait times of over an hour when calling for support. These operational failures damaged the brand's reputation and led to high customer churn rates, making their expensive customer acquisition costs even more problematic. By late 1999, despite raising an additional $50 million in Series B funding, Pets.com was burning through cash at an unsustainable rate. The company was spending approximately $2 million per month while generating revenues that covered less than 40% of their expenses. Industry analysts began questioning whether any online retailer could make money selling pet supplies, pointing to the fundamental economics of shipping heavy products to individual consumers. Competitors like Petco and PetSmart, who had physical stores and established supply chains, began launching their own e-commerce sites that could leverage their existing infrastructure. These traditional retailers could offer online ordering with in-store pickup, eliminating shipping costs while providing the convenience that customers wanted. Amazon was also moving into the pet supplies category, using their massive scale and sophisticated logistics network to compete on price and delivery speed. The dot-com crash of 2000 marked the beginning of the end for Pets.com. The Nasdaq peaked in March 2000 and began a steep decline that would continue for 2 years. Venture capital funding dried up virtually overnight as investors became skeptical of companies that prioritized growth over profitability. Pets.com attempted to go public in February 2000, hoping to raise additional capital through an initial public offering. However, their IPO filing revealed the extent of their financial problems, including net losses of $147 million since inception. The public offering was quietly withdrawn after investment banks advised that market conditions made it impossible to price the shares at acceptable levels. Several potential strategic acquirers, including Amazon and Petco, conducted due diligence but walked away after examining the company's finances. The fundamental unit economics made it clear that Pets.com would need to completely restructure their business model to have any chance of survival. Julie Wainwright and the board of directors faced an impossible situation by the fall of 2000. The company had less than 6 months of cash remaining, no prospects for additional funding, and no viable path to profitability. Desperate cost-cutting measures included laying off over 200 employees, closing warehouses, and reducing their product catalog, but these changes came too late to save the company. On November 7, 2000, just 18 months after their famous Super Bowl campaign, Pets.com announced they were shutting down operations immediately. The liquidation was swift and brutal, with remaining inventory sold to competitors at deeply discounted prices. Employees were given just 30 minutes to clear out their desks, and the company's website was replaced with a simple message thanking customers for their support. The sock puppet Mascot, which had been valued at millions of dollars in brand equity studies, was sold to a competing company for practically nothing. In total, Pets.com had burned through approximately $300 million in funding while achieving peak annual revenues of just $61 million. The failure of Pets.com became a cautionary tale that business schools still teach today, illustrating multiple fundamental mistakes that doomed the company from the start. First, they chose a product category with inherently poor economics for e-commerce, where shipping costs and low margins made profitability nearly impossible. Second, they prioritized brand building and customer acquisition over unit economics and sustainable growth, spending enormous amounts on marketing while losing money on every sale. Third, they built infrastructure for a national business before proving their model could work profitably in a single market. Fourth, they ignored competitive advantages that traditional retailers possessed, including existing customer relationships, physical locations, and established supply chains. The company's spectacular marketing success actually made their failure worse by driving demand they couldn't fulfill profitably. The sock puppet became a symbol not of clever advertising, but of an entire generation of internet companies that confused brand awareness with business viability. Today, successful online pet retailers like Chewy have built sustainable businesses by focusing on higher-margin products, subscription models, and operational efficiency rather than flashy marketing campaigns. The lessons from Pets.com's $300 million failure continue to resonate 20 years later, reminding entrepreneurs that no amount of venture capital or brand recognition can overcome fundamentally flawed business economics.